Hello, hello. Good morning, everybody. We are live on Instagram and on YouTube. I'm still working to consolidate this whole setup so it feels like we're a little bit more together and not so separate. But thanks for joining me today. Thanks for joining me this workshop week. I'm so excited to be with you guys. Forgive the messy hair, don't care here thing. Guys, I'm so excited. We've got a special guest on the show today. You guys may know him as the Mindful Farmer. His name is Sean, and he's going to be tuning in with us live from Arkansas. I was going to say Arkansas, California, Arkansas, United States. And what else? What was I going to tell you guys? Oh, so here's the thing. This workshop week, we are doing this thing where we're offering a resource library. I'm a part of this thing. My course is in it. You can get it for 75 cents. Just comment workshop or library, and you can get your workshop library sent directly to your DMs. So definitely be sure to get in on that deal while you can. Because here's the thing, any of us can be homesteading and farming anywhere. And if you caught the Poplytics episode or the Spillover podcast, I should say, that just aired last night, we're talking about that. And so more on that in a little bit, but super fun to be chatting with you guys and encouraging you like, yes, you absolutely can be homesteading and farming wherever you are, even if you're in the middle of the suburbs in the city like I am. And so I'm super excited to be talking with you guys. I gotta consolidate this. I'm super excited to be talking with you guys today, and I can't wait to bring Sean on the show. He is up to some really cool things. He has some amazing products that he creates specifically so that farmers have a more ergonomic experience farming. And there's so many cool tools that he makes. I can't wait to pick his brain about what he does as well as the business behind it. Because the other thing that you may not know is that you have a purpose and a dream in you for a reason. And I want to help bring that to life this week. I really am believing that chains are falling off of people, generational curses are being broken, and new businesses are being formed this week in light of what we're doing here during workshop week. Because financial freedom and financial abundance is available and ready and calling out to you. I think it's just time that you start your own business. Okay. So, anyway, let's talk about what Sean is up to, how he's doing business, how he farms, who he is, what he's passionate about, and what his big dream is as well. Again, definitely comment workshop or library so you can get your resources at 99% off. And you can get started wherever you are. Requested wink. Yes, oh, there it is.
Hey.
Hey, good morning, Sean. Thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, totally. I just got this light. I was thinking of you and how you're like always joking, you're like not tech savvy. I'm trying to level up around here, and like I got this light. It's like very intense. I feel like this is like a lot of light here. So I'm just gonna turn it down a little bit. There we go. It feels better. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
Doing good. Doing good. It's a rainy day here in Arkansas.
Dude.
So I was going to be in the sunroom and had to move because it was so loud. I had to move to a different room.
Oh my gosh, I love Arkansas rain. There are days here where it smells like spring in Arkansas to me, and it like brings me back to meeting you for the first time, spring shindig back in 2019. My gosh, it's been a while. But gosh, yeah, well, I'm glad you found a safe place. We've had a lot of rain out here too. It's like working with the elements as a content creator. Like there's so many content creators who just do this with their ring light and they do their makeup and stuff. And I'm like, you have no idea. When you're a homesteader and a content creator, you are working against the elements, with the elements and against them sometimes. Oh no, we might have lost him. Guys, stick with me. Can you see me? If you can see me, give me an emoji. It could be due to the storm that they're going through. So if you can see me, let me know. All right. Let me know if I need to restart this, guys. Can you guys still see me? We can see you. Okay. Hey, so nice to hear from you guys on YouTube as well. Okay, I've got a thumbs up. All right, so I'm going to assume that this is hey, Naked Gardeners, what's up? I'm going to assume that this is a storm issue. Okay, here we go. View request. Go live. Let's try this again.
Hey, sorry about that. I don't
No,
know what
no
happened.
worries.
Yeah,
No worries. I figured it was probably maybe because of that storm or who knows. But
yeah,
anyway, I am so thrilled to have you here. If you guys don't know this, like Sean is one of my friends behind the scenes. We talk all the time about like content creation, ideas, business. And I was like, dude, you have to come on the show while I'm doing workshop week because you do something so unique and you have such a unique perspective. And we've talked so much about business.
yeah. Really,
Sorry.
it's been you helping me figure out the marketing side.
Yeah, and I'd love to chat more with you about that. But for now, at the start of this, I'd love to know, like, tell us, who you are, where you're from, what you do, all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So Sean Pacera, mindful farmer. I started off in environmental science and ecology, and then transitioned to sustainable agriculture. So that's my background. For the past 10 years, my wife and I have been working towards owning our own farm. We've been working towards that goal. So I took a job working for Heifer International to do sustainable agriculture, manage their market garden and their farm. And then a year and a half ago, stepped away to start Mindful Farmer. And I supply custom greenhouses and install them. I've designed custom tools for market gardeners and small scale farmers, home gardeners. And then we're also adding in amendments and inputs for farmers. So that's going to be probably here in the next few weeks. We're going to start offering that. And that's going to be things like fertilizer that we can sell wholesale to organic farmers here in Arkansas. So I'm really excited about that because there's really not a source right now. And so the vision behind Mindful Farmer and the goal of Mindful Farmer is to get us to our own farm. But in the meantime, we're going to help as many people as we can along the way, whether they're growing for a livelihood, the farmers we work with, helping make sure they have all the inputs they need, that they have the skill sets they need, that they have the tools they need, that are long-lasting, affordable, ergonomic, all these things. And then, high tunnels and greenhouses to help them scale. But then that also still applies for the home gardener. So what I'm really going to be focused on this season is showing people behind the scenes of like my home garden that's just 1,200 square feet in the city. And I'm going to be applying the things that I've learned managing a full-scale organic commercial vegetable farm to the small scale and show people how they can grow more food than they've ever grown with less time and less effort than they've ever put in. And that's like really the goal of this season that I'm doing on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok and stuff like that. That's kind of content I'll be putting out. But at the moment, I'm not monetizing content. I'm just educating and then working on these inputs, tools, and tunnels.
It's a lot. It's a lot, isn't it? But look at you go. So just a couple months ago when we first started kind of almost accidentally having like consultation type conversations just as friends, it was like, okay, but you have to figure out who your who is, and you got to figure out what your why is, and you got to figure out some of these things. And I could hear you like refining all of these things into what you're doing. And you're like, listen, for this season, I'm going gung ho on like, let's grow as much as we possibly can, even if we don't have a lot of space, which I so relate to. And so, maybe there's some room here to collaborate, which you're starting your worm farm, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. We can still be friends.
Yeah. Starting worm farm and the black soldier fly.
Oh yeah, dude, so cool.
Both of those, so I'm really excited about
so cool.
that. And there's this idea in organic farming of like growing your own fertility.
Yeah.
So commercial or conventional farming, like you truck in chemicals and like apply to the soil. In organic farming, it's all about how do I work with the biology in the soil and use cover crops and composting, and you're basically doing that yourself, which is very empowering, but also a lot more sustainable and better for the soil. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to be adding the worms into that.
I had to give you a hard time. Guys, here's the thing is sometimes you might be up to something really cool that you see the benefits in, but like your friends, they need a second to get caught up. All of my friends are just now, like years later, starting their worm farms. And I'm like, bro, double your yield, half your pest pressure, half your disease pressure. So anyway, I just have to pull your leg about that. But it fits so in line with what you're doing. And I'm so excited to see how it, brings your farm even more to life. And I can't wait to see the abundance that you're going to bring forth.
Yeah, well, and on the worms too, like I've been adding worm castings that I haven't made myself, but that's the plan. to our soil block mix, and I feel like it helps them stick together a lot better. It's like the worm castings provide this really great high humeric acid glue.
Yes.
So it's been a good partnership with the soil blocks.
Yeah, I would love to know your recipe. I know we're being off topic a little bit for a second here, but do you have a recipe that you like for soil blocking? Because I haven't found one that I
Yeah,
like just yet.
yeah. Right now, I just have like a recipe that you can get from any big box store. Yeah, I have a reel that I made about it, and that's the title of the reel. So it's like basically a bag of organic potting soil that has peat moss, coconut coir, and vermiculite, and then it's 3 parts of that to 1 part of the worm castings.
Oh,
Um,
interesting. Okay. Everybody go check out
it's
that reel
super
for more
little.
info. I'm going to share it later because I'm actually in the process. I know everybody else starts their seeds so early, but with our growing season, I end up starting my seeds later. I'm like just starting seeds now, which I know sounds crazy, but anyway, I really want to be able to show how you can use worm castings effectively. I usually just buy them in the soil mix that I get, but
Mhm.
that can be pretty expensive, and I have my own, so it's like, why not just add them? So I'm gonna go
Yeah,
check out that recipe for that. It sounds like you're just kind of making your own thing, and you're seeing the benefits of that already, which is really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. And the goal too, like along with the inputs that we're trying to provide and locally source them, is we're wanting to get all the fertilizers and the potting mixes that we supply to farmers in Arkansas sourced from materials in Arkansas. So
Awesome.
I'm actually like working with the university to figure out a recipe that uses things like poultry feathers, because we Arkansas grows more chickens and rice than anywhere else in the world,
Wow.
which is crazy. We export rice to Asia. We grow so much of it. And so we have rice hulls. So we have byproducts of these things. And so I
Wow.
really want to make potting soil out of the byproducts that Arkansas is already producing. So we're not having to, truck in peat or coconut coir, things like that. So in the
Isn't that
works.
so interesting to me? And I think that really touches on the regenerative aspect of your heart and what you do, and like what we are all doing as kind of regenerative farmers is what is the closed loop system here, even on like a state level? It's like, whoa, we have so much excess of this one thing. And a lot of people go, oh, that's a problem. Let's just send it to the landfill. But instead, you're like, hey, actually, this is a solution and it can be an input to create more organic inputs. And I feel like that's such a shift in thinking still for so many people of like, I'll just truck in the inputs or I'll just buy them. When it's like, hang on, hang on. We actually have an excess of this one resource that if we just add the right components, we could make more inputs that will yield more. I'm so glad that you're advocating for that. And I can't wait to see what you come up with. And at the same time, what aren't you doing right now? Oh my gosh, you are up to so many things. No wonder.
Yeah,
He's like, can you help me with
too
my
much.
ebook? And I'm like, dude, I can't right now. And now I know why you can't either.
Yeah, yeah, and that's been a growing pain. Is like now I'm at the point where it's like I'm at beyond max capacity, and like working with people is going to be the next step.
Yeah.
And and that's really the vision too. Is like um, I love like working with my friends and figuring out what makes them come alive and figuring out how to get them doing that thing.
Yeah.
And so it's like I always imagine like driving this bus and like figuring out where everyone needs to sit on the bus for maximum like happiness and optimization. I don't know if that
I relate to
makes
that
sense, but
so much. I really do.
yeah. So like sometimes I even think about an enterprise I want to do just so I could grow that and potentially hire my friend into that, or my family member, what have you,
Yeah.
and just have them be in a place that they really enjoy being.
Yeah, yeah, same. I think about that a lot. And what's so cool is like this day and age, we really can do that, especially leveraging digital resources. And there's just so many options. And I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too far, but I just want to say I do totally resonate with that. And I'm sure there's a lot of people here. I hear somebody saying not hearing anything, but I think that might just be a one person issue. If you guys can hear us, give us the thumbs up. Give us like your favorite emoji for Sean being with us today. I'm so excited. I wish they had a broad fork emoji. I think of you and I think of the most ergonomic broad fork. Oh, I see hearts. Okay, we're good. Um, that is one of the things that I can't wait to have on our farm one day. And I love that your heart is like, hey, we're going to help people get to farm where they are while we're farming where we are, but we're dreaming of the farm. And I also just relate to that so much. So on that note, we're doing this workshop week where we talk with people about what they do, and we've learned a lot so far from you of like, I work with the community, I'm developing better inputs, I'm helping people online like grow abundance wherever they are. Tell us a little bit about like what your business journey has been like. You said like right now you find yourself at a place you're doing product development, you're making physical products, and you're working consultations, and then you're also doing installations. And now you're kind of toying with this idea because I've been yakking in your ear for a little while now of like, hey, you need some digital products to scale. And so now you're thinking about this like digital product aspect. Like what would you say has been one of the biggest aha moments for you in your journey? Tell us a little bit about that.
Ooh, the biggest aha moment, um, finding the demand and the need and going after that.
Mm,
Um, and so, like on Instagram, I think what's helped me is like going after uh, like the audience I want, like, and not just trying to get a big audience, but like I want to help people that are trying to scale their garden or do it more efficiently, and that's who I'm going to make content for. And same thing with the tools. Like as I was managing the farm for Heifer, a lot of our apprentices were like young women coming out of college and like wanting to get into sustainable agriculture. And one of the things I noticed right off the bat was like a lot of our tools weren't built for women. Like gloves were not sized well. The broad forks were either wooden handles and they break, or they were all steel and they were too heavy. Um, and so like that was one of the things I kind of observed, and also that most of the people I work with are women. At the Department of Agriculture, at the university, and the nonprofits I'm partnering with, and then like there's just not the support there, and so that was one of the big light bulb moments in my head of like it's going to be predominantly women who move the local foods movement forward, and they need support of tools that work for them. So I'm going to make lightweight, ergonomic tools. And so that was kind of like the first thing, like, I'm going to go for this. Like, I'm going to equip people for this. And so that was a big step forward. And the greenhouses was kind of a way to get to that point. So I was already building greenhouses. I think there might be one other person. I think I'm the only greenhouse manufacturer and installer in the state. And so being able to step into that really easily, I could immediately get clients and have a business while I developed these tools and brought them to market. And so that was, it's like spinning one plate and then adding another plate. But that's really the passion behind what we want to be able to do, is to not just us farm. Like that was the initial vision whenever we first got married, my wife and I, is like, let's have a farm, just small family farm. And now it's turned into this really big thing where we've had the opportunity to help dozens and dozens of farms with tools and tunnels and inputs. And then now we're even being brought into conversations about how we help the whole Mississippi River farming community develop into diversified agriculture. So that's really cool, because then that could be hundreds and hundreds of farms that can transition into sustainable organic vegetable production. And so that's really exciting. So like our vision for what we wanted to do, our family purpose, and what we call our kingdom purpose, is like grown and bigger than just having the family farm. And so that's still the goal. We still want to have that and be able to like serve our community and feed our friends and family in our community. But the mission behind it has blossomed because there's such need. And it's honestly one of those things, like Melanie saying last night, I hadn't been sleeping well, and she's like, you wear the worries of like other people. And I do, I feel like that whenever I'm consulting with a farm, like it stresses me out of like, oh man, I've got to make sure that they can succeed. And whenever I realize that these farmers don't have the inputs they need for the season, that I feel like that's something I got to jump on and help provide that, because unfortunately there's just no one else to step in at the moment. And I would love to see that. I'd love to see a lot more businesses like mine supporting farmers, but there just aren't yet. And so I'm going to do what I can.
You have said so many things that I like really want to go deeper on, and maybe this is just like the start of a continued conversation here, because I think what you're saying is really important. But um, I was having like a friend moment over here. I was like, he said it. He said it. He said that he was thinking of women, and like thinking of designing tools for them specifically. Because one of the things that we talked about when you were kind of in the beginning stages, like refining your marketing message, you were telling me, you're like, well, these women on the farm didn't have tools. And so I really felt for them. Like, why do they have to use a man's tool when we could design something that's better for everybody, specifically for them? And I think that's so powerful. You're thinking of them and you design something for them to help make um, it easier, and identifying that really women are at the forefront of this. There's such a move of women at the forefront of this movement towards regenerative agriculture and eating better and providing better for our families. And I feel like you have such a gift for seeing seeing the possibility. Like, you have this eye for potential, but you're also such like a big-hearted person that you're like, oh well, obviously I have to help here. And I know one of the most challenging things for you has just been like, okay, I'm going to stay in my lane, I'm going to stay in this lane, I'm going to stay in this lane. But you have seen such fruit from that, right? You've seen
Mhm.
so much fruit.
Yeah, yeah, and that has been something that we've talked about is like niching down and like figuring out, okay, like I know you want to solve the world's problems, but you're one person, and and you got to focus in. And so I've had to do that. Like I'm trying to keep every project I'm working on moving forward a little bit, but realizing like there's probably three things I really need to be focusing on, and so pushing those the most while I can still kind of keep these other moving forward, but not getting uh, lost trying to start everything all at the same time and then nothing succeeds.
Yeah, and there's no shame in the game of trying different things. Like, I always joke, there's a Ross Geller that lives in my head who's constantly yelling pivot. Like, I totally get that and respect that. But I mean, you've seen the fruit of it in your growth online recently. Like, I just looked this
Yeah.
morning, I'm like, holy crap, is he gonna hit 100K while we're on the live today? Like, it's been amazing to see your growth as you're like, okay, this is what I stand for. This is who I serve. This is what I do. And I'm gonna stand in this purpose because I know, and I joke about this all the time where I talk about this, is like, if you choose to prune that plant, like you with your hard pruning of the tomatoes, if you know, I think you have like 1 million views on that reel or something of like, I'm going to do this crazy thing. Like, I'm going to decapitate my tomatoes, which is just wild. But that's like essentially what you've done in your business. You're like, okay, I am hard pruning my business because I know that I can't serve everybody and do all the things, but I can serve this one community and do this one or couple of things really well, and that is actually going to fuel abundance rather than thinking, oh, let's just let this tomato grow wild and say a prayer and hope for the best. No, I'm going to prune it down. I'm going to prune my business down, and we're going to see this abundant growth. And so I don't know, I just want to applaud you for doing that. And it's been so fun to see your success and be chatting with you a little bit behind the scenes of that pruning process. I know it's so hard, but you're doing it, and
Yeah.
it's fun once you see the result of it, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And that's such a good analogy for pruning because like it really is like painful to do, but then you wind up getting more fruit by taking some of the excess fruit off. And so, yeah,
You did it.
it's a hard lesson to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a necessary one.
Yeah, you did it. Dude, I talk with so many people who feel like that though. And I know I felt like that too. And I think it's hard, especially in the gardening, homesteading, farming community, because you do have to do so many things. And we do become really well-rounded people because of that, which is great. Like, society, our parents are so proud of us for being like well-rounded people, which is great. But when you're providing a service online or showing up in the algorithm, like the algorithm rewards specificity, and business rewards specificity and pruning. And so I'm just so excited for you and your business. So it sounds like one of the biggest aha moments for you has been like really niching down, as you said, like, who do I serve and how do I serve them?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about like your vision for that. What is like your heart for what you're up to, and where do you feel like you're headed? Where do you hope to take people in this season? Because I know you said you're focusing on really maxing out your 1,200 square feet. You said 1,200 square feet, and you want to show people how to grow abundance even in that small space. Like, tell us what you're envisioning. What's your dream for this next season?
Oh man, the dream for the next season. So I I guess a short backstory. Short. I'm really bad about doing too much backstory.
That's okay.
Is like I've worked for these several nonprofits now, and done consulting work for nonprofits that are trying to increase the number of farmers because The average farmer is 65 and aging out. We're going to have the biggest turnover of land in the next decade that we've ever had in human history as the baby boomers retire. So we need all these new farmers. Where on earth are they going to come from? And how on earth would someone want to get into this line of work when all they hear is it's too much work, there's no pay in it, the prices are too low, you're working all the time. And so, for sustainable agriculture to be sustainable, there has to be a next generation. And so that's one of the things that keeps me up at night. And I really believe that the next generation of farmers are going to come out of the gardening and homesteading community. It's going to be people where they do that thing and it just lights them up. And that's how it was for me. Like I was in college and was like, I'm doing, this environmental science stuff. And I love being outside. I love ecology, but I'm just helping like oil and gas companies get permits to drain wetlands. Like this isn't really lighting my soul on fire. And transition to sustainable agriculture. Now it's like I'm doing that full time for a living and supporting my family doing it because I planted a small garden, got 3 chickens, and it just was like, this is what I'm doing.
You're a crazy chicken lady deep down inside.
Oh, yeah. I'm a crazy chicken lad.
Lad. Oh, there's a whole, let me tell you, market research, there's a whole subculture of chicken daddies that I found out about, but we won't go there. You're a chicken lad. I like it.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the things that I'm thinking about. And so I want to be, I see farm supply companies and then I see garden companies, and there's no one that's in the middle ground transitioning gardeners to farmers. So that's the vision of Mindful Farmer, is I want to make, the people that really just comes alive in them. And they're like, I love this gardening thing. Like, how do I make a living doing this? I want to bridge that gap for them because the scale and the tools that we're using work if you have a 1,200 square foot garden or if you have a 3-acre garden. Like the 3 acres of vegetables that I grew, that was about $250,000 worth of vegetables that we're doing by hand without tractors.
Wow.
So it's completely scalable at that level, and it's also accessible because it's only 3 acres versus like, I've got to get $1 million loan to get 100 acres to start farming. Like it just isn't the case. So I want to help bridge that gap. That's really the vision.
That's really the vision. So you want to transition gardeners into the next generation of farmers. Yeah. That is so profound. I love that.
Yeah. I think like Joel Salatin has done a lot of that on the livestock side. So like at the homesteading conferences that we've gone to, there's so much emphasis on livestock, and people are like, I want to raise a bunch of chickens and I'm going to start selling chickens. I want to raise a few cattle and now I'm selling cattle. But I don't feel like many people at homesteading conferences that are doing that on the vegetable side. Mm-hmm. And that's really the niche I want to fill is that, taking the home gardeners, figuring out how to, let's say you just want to garden, you don't want to sell anything, but how do I cut your workload in half while still doing it sustainably and, getting more produce than you've ever gotten. And then if you do want to scale that, here's how the step-by-step, here's this product, this book, this course, and basically have a way to take people from garden to farm.
So many points of interest personally that I want to ask you more about, but let's make this as valuable as we can for the people watching. If you guys have questions, please feel free to drop them in the questions box. That makes them a lot easier to see. If you're joining us on YouTube, you can drop them on there as well. I want to ask you, what do you think is the easiest first step? Like, where can somebody get started? Like, let's say they have this farm dream, but they're like us. We're living in the city. We're doing our garden thing in the city. What would you say are the first couple steps that they could take towards their farm dream and making the most of it where they are?
I think the best first step you can take is finding out what you actually enjoy. Like I've seen a lot of folks, like, I want to make money. I could do microgreens. Mm-hmm. And I get into the microgreen thing, but then you're doing the microgreen thing every day. And then they're like, I don't really love this, and I've seen people get burnt out with that. But like, let's say it's flowers and you're like, I just love cut flowers. I love growing them. Well, then that's your first step, is figuring out what you love to do, what lights you up. And then figuring out, is this something I can scale? Is this something I can monetize? Is this something I can grow into an enterprise that provides for my family?
Yeah, so that's really good. So start, and to do that, they would need some quality potting mix, maybe a couple pots if they don't have any yet, and maybe try like a couple different seed varieties or a couple different plants from the nursery. Like try growing some flowers, try growing a tomato, Try growing, I don't know what else, some herbs maybe, and just
Yeah,
see what feels
yeah,
right.
yeah. See what feels right, and some people, they love the herbalism
Mm,
component, and then
mhm.
they grow herbs, and they figure out, oh, maybe you can use these medicinally, and then they can scale that. I know a grower who does tea, like herbal and medicinal tea, and so that was what her garden is predominantly different herbs that I've never heard of, and less like tomatoes and peppers and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
she's able to turn that into a business for her family.
So cool. Yeah, so is there a reason broad forks aren't 30 inches?
Aren't 30 inches? Uh, so my broad fork is 24 inches wide, and that's because it fits on a 30-inch wide bed. So, and most market gardeners use a 30-inch wide bed because you can straddle it. So like, you can stand on both sides of it and work in the middle. Um, so that's why a lot of folks are using 30 or 36-inch wide beds. Ours is 24 with the teeth on 6-inch centers. So then that way you can work the bed, but then whenever you drag it backwards along, like with one of the teeth on the edge of the bed, it goes four evenly spaced lines down the middle of the bed. And they,
I feel like I want to have like a feature a show of just like how ingenious your tools are. So whether you're watching on YouTube or Instagram, like please go check out my friend Sean from Mindful Farmer. He has some of the coolest tools. And as a person in product development myself, I just have so much respect for how much thought goes into your tools. So I'm here listening. I've never used a broad fork before in my life, but I'm like, okay, that makes sense because if you're working like a 30-inch bed, then it gives you some wiggle room on either side. So you're not having to get it in like exactly on that
um,
30 inches. It's like, okay, 24 inches, that makes sense. But no, you're like, I'm going to take it a step further and I'm adding teeth on the edges. So you can even get the edges with the teeth when you drag it backwards. It's so
yeah,
good.
well, and it makes it a rake. So I posted a reel today that kind of explains that. It makes it a rake and a bed marker. So if you go to like a catalog, a seed catalog, and get the tools, you're like, oh well, I need a broad fork, and now I need a row marker, and now I need a rake. I, I'm like, well, why don't just one tool that does everything? And so that's what I'm trying to make.
You're doing it. You're doing it. There are questions that I want to ask you about your tools, but I just wanted to comment on the scaling thing. And that's a phrase that I use a lot of like, let's scale it, let's scale it. And for anybody who's maybe like new to business or like isn't familiar with that term, like scaling is really, and tell me what you think about this, but scaling anything is about it's like regeneration, really. It's like taking that same idea of like, I'm starting with this small thing and I'm gonna steward it, and then I'm gonna like reinvest that and grow this whole cycle more and more. And so when you're talking about scaling anything, you're talking about like, how do I take this one thing and grow it into more and more that fuels the whole thing as a whole, whether that's
Yeah.
business or the farm? Because we've been talking about it a lot about scaling, and I just don't want anybody to get lost.
Yes, scaling has been my challenge because whenever I started the greenhouse, and the greenhouse still is probably a majority of our business is building the custom greenhouses. It's a skill set only I have, and then if I'm building them, I have to be there. Even if I have a team, I still have to be the foreman on that. So I'm limited on how many I can build a year. So my income is capped. If all I did was greenhouses, I'm capped. Um, Unless I could hire someone with my skill set that could manufacture and install as well. Um, but with the tools, and all my tools are manufactured locally too, and as well as our cardboard boxes, our logos and stickers and everything. And so that's also a value that we want to have. But it's scalable because I can ask our manufacturing partner, hey, can you weld me 200,000, 10,000 broad forks, and they can do that. So I can grow that part of my business. I can scale that part of my business. And then as I've added other products like our drop seeders, I'm coming out with a cultivating tool that I'm most excited about. We have a margin there to where we can wholesale them to other companies. Now I'm really scaling. Whereas the greenhouse, I can only do at the most 52 a year. But now with the manufacturing partners and the wholesaling to other distributors, now I've got 3 other companies with 100,000 customers that are seeing this product, and I can really scale that. So that's phase 2 or 7. I don't really know at this point.
Well, and to give yourself credit too, I know like you and I have felt stuck sometimes in kind of our conversations about like how do we move the needle forward with the business. It's like to give yourself so much credit. I mean, you are leveraging the thing that was the most valuable to you, which was the greenhouses. And sometimes we have to do that, even if it's like kind of hard or uncomfortable. It's like, okay, this is the thing though that's going to get me to the next step. And I talk about that a lot when I'm helping people with business. Is like, it's worth it to invest in yourself. It might be uncomfortable. It's worth it to try this one thing, even though it's uncomfortable or hard. But yeah, when you do hit that limit, leverage it, pull that lever and see what other levers you can start to pull. And that's what it sounds like you're starting to do is like, I started with the greenhouses. That's not sustainable. That's not super scalable because I'm needed there as a human presence. But
Yeah.
that one thing has led to other things. And now it's given me more opportunities to grow and do other products that I'm really excited about, like your cultivator, you said?
Mhm.
Okay, so this is what I would love to do is obviously like I want to point as many people as we can to what you're up to. I want to talk about your cultivator, and I also want to highlight a question that came in, which is just making me chuckle. Do you think ladies could handle your broad fork? He literally designed it with ladies in mind. Okay.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Literally with women in mind. So it's one of the lightest weight broad forks on the market, and it's all steel, so it's going to last a lifetime. And then it's ergonomic. So one of the things with the broad forks I noticed is like people pull they're really tall handles, and they basically have like do a pull up. So you're pulling all your leverage from your shoulders. But if you're trying to like open a door that was stuck or something like that, you use your hips. You drop your hips, and like women carry their power and their leverage in their hips, and so that's how my broad fork is designed. To where instead of trying to do like a pull up and putting all that pressure on your shoulders, you basically just take a step backwards and drop your hips, and that provides the leverage to open the soil.
So not
Um,
only could ladies use it, but it sounds like this is just a better design in general because
for
most
anybody,
people most
yeah,
people can leverage their hips. Not everybody can leverage their shoulders, but most people can take a step backwards and leverage their body weight.
yeah, yeah. And when I was testing them out too, I worked with a farmer. Uh, the two farmers that ran the farm, she is, I don't even know, I'm not going to guess a woman's weight, but a petite young woman, and he's like this burly linebacker of a human being. And both of them are like, this is really comfortable to use
Mm.
because she could use her hips as the leverage for leverage. And then he didn't need to, he could just use his shoulders to, because he had enough power to just like, he didn't even have to step on the broad fork. He just, I was going.
Bears it.
So it was comfortable for both of them to use, even though he's twice the size of her. And so that's really what I wanted to like be able to accomplish is tools that are inclusive, right? That they work for everybody, and not just like a woman's tool or a man's tool, but something that is just as comfortable for anybody, any body type or strength or skill set.
I seriously freaked out, you guys, when he told me that like months ago. I was like, Sean, you have a product like that you thought of for women to help them farm better. I was like, bro, why are we not talking about this? Where's the ladies on your social media presence? Like, how do we showcase this? Because this is the stuff that gets me so excited is this out of the box thinking because and this is just a general note to anybody watching who's dreaming about their business, who's thinking about taking the next step. Like, don't be scared to think outside of the box. Like, this is such an outside of the box concept. And I'm so glad that you're willing to step out and share a little bit more about it. Cause I know at first you're like, well, I don't want to say it's designed for women or whatever. But like, I love that you were willing to step outside of the box and say, hey, here's a problem. I'm going to develop a solution. And that's something I talk a lot about around here with friends is you just have to have the right solution for the right problem. And like, there's so many opportunities when you have your eyes open to it. And I think, especially in like the gardening and farming world, we're not even really thinking in terms of marketing of like, this is for a man and this is for a woman. It's just kind of like we get man's tools without knowing that they're like designed for men.
Hmm.
It's just like these are the tools. Like it's not like you go into Target and you're like, oh, this is the men's section, this is the women's section. It's like, oh no, just gardening section in general. And there's
Yeah.
such an opportunity there. And I just love that you're seizing it. And your broad fork is so stinking cool. I did get to use the broad fork at the conference. So I can't say I've never touched a broad fork and it was very comfortable. It is really awesome that you designed that. So you are the mind behind Mindful Farmer Arkansas, and you have so many mindful tools. Tell us like what else you're excited about. You mentioned a cultivator that you're excited about that's coming up.
Yeah, yeah, I'm really excited about that. So it's still kind of in development, and it's taken a whole process because there's a lot of like basically custom tools that have to be made for me to be able to make that tool.
Uh-huh.
And so that's been a whole learning curve too, right? Like my background is ecology, but I'm having to learn about die presses and brake presses and different kinds of welding. And so I'm learning all the fabrication side as well. And I'm designing things in AutoCAD and working with another contractor to help me polish those kind of things. So it's definitely like been an adventure learning how to do all that stuff. But it's
adventure,
adventure,
blood, sweat, tears, confusion, desperation, crying out to God. It's an adventure.
Some sleepless nights.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cultivator is along the lines of like the broad fork. It's lightweight, gonna last forever, and does multiple things. So with the design of it, and I've been working on all these things. Like I have a notebook of about 25 tools that I want to bring to market, and they've all been things that I've been working on for the past 5 or 6 years. Because as I was managing the farm, I was like, why is this 2 separate tools, or why is this designed this way? And so I just kind of made my own notes of like, someday I'll invent this for the farm, and now I can invent it for everybody. And so
good.
The cultivating tool will probably do at least 9 different tasks in just like one hand tool. And so that's the goal, is to where, like I was saying, helping people transition from the gardener to the farmer. One of the concepts of that is like being lean. You can get to a place where you can have a livable wage as a organic vegetable farmer without having to buy a tractor, without having to go into a lot of debt. And so I want to invent these tools, maybe 4 or 5 things that a home gardener can use and be really efficient. But if they decide that they want to scale to a 1 acre or 2 acre market garden, they're just keeping the same tools. Maybe they get an extra one because now they've hired somebody to help them. But it's basically like 5 tools that you need to be a sustainable farmer, instead of a whole barn full of stuff that breaks.
Dude, that alone is like its own marketing campaign right there. You just need 5 tools. That's it. Yeah. That's so cool. Well, we've got about a minute left until I have to bring my next guest on the show. I have so many more questions, things that are on my mind that I'm just going to put a bookmark in for next time, hopefully, that we talk, is like, how do you fund the product development? Because being in product development now, like physical product development, I'm like, oh, this is expensive, but you found a way to do it. And I know part of your strategy going forward is going to be leveraging digital assets that, you make once, sell online multiple times. And like, that's going to be part of what fuels what you're up to, I think. So I want to put a bookmark in that and like learn more about, how do you envision that and how do you scale there? And then where can we find you? Where can people find you and find your tools and get the latest on what you're up to? Obviously, Mindful Farmer Arkansas on YouTube. I was able to tag you. You're on YouTube, but also here on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't do as much on YouTube.
You can only do so many things.
Yeah, there's only so many things. But Instagram, I'm posting educational reels pretty much daily on Instagram, and then taking those over to TikTok as well. Our website, mindfulfarmerarkansas.com, has all of our tools, and I'm working on developing, like you said, with the digital products, like basically a resources library. I have so much experience and knowledge in my head, and I just want to get it out to as many people as I can, as fast as I can. And so I'm just trying to figure out how best to do that.
I know, right? It's like, how do I do all of the things, and yet I'm just one person? But here's to hoping you and I both have teams here very soon with all of our hard work. I see it in our future. Sean, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Such a joy to talk with you. I love your vision for Arkansas, your vision for your community. I'm going to purchase a broad fork from you now. Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much. You guys definitely please go support Sean and what he's up to. Obviously, he is so passionate about what he does and puts so much mindfulness and thought into all of his creations. I know that you're destined for I know the sky's the limit. Like, you're going places, and I can't wait it's been so fun to see you explode online. Honestly, I'm like, yeah, it's happening. And I know amazing things are going to continue to come your way. So thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope you guys felt encouraged talking with Sean. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right. And thank you for all your help too.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. I love it. Yeah, for sure. Right. Thanks for being a friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. See ya.
Bye. All right, guys, I'm going to actually start another live on Instagram and on YouTube just to kind of keep things organized. So come back in just a second. I'm going to start a new live Or do you think we should just continue hanging out? We got people here. You know what? We'll continue on YouTube live streaming. And I'm just gonna start a new one. No, you know what? We're gonna start a new one so it's organized. Okay. Join me in the next live on YouTube. We got a new guest. I'll see you in a second.